is the running from Alabama going to come from? We know where it's going to come from Georgia. It's going to come from Samir White. It's going to come from James Cook. Brian Robinson's injured. I have Bama Insider pulled up. This was given up earlier today. See how he responds. It's going to be day to day, so we're going to have to see how it goes. If he can't go, it's going to be up to Trey Sanders. And Trey Sanders this year, 50 carries, 221 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. He's been fine, but he wasn't seeing the field that much early in the season. It was Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan. So if Brian Robinson can't go, and he's been the bell cow this year for them, and no, Brian Robinson, if you've been seeing me all year covering Alabama, he's not Derrick Henry. He's not Najee Harris or any of these guys, but he's still a pretty productive back, and that's going to be a problem if he can't go for the Crimson Tide. I mean, obviously. So now we get to the passing games. And this is just a quick little overhaul. We'll delve much deeper in. And obviously, Alabama, you look at Bryce Young and the numbers he's put up this year. He's been insane. Completing 69% of his passes on 419 attempts, so that'd be 289 completions, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's averaging 9.3 yards per attempt, 176.8 QB rate. He's been incredible. He's a Heisman candidate for a reason. And while some other guys have been awesome for Alabama, Mac Jones last year was incredible, but he didn't have it as tough as Bryce Young has had it, and Bryce Young has been almost as good as Mac was. He doesn't have 4 NFL wide receivers. He maybe has 2, and they're specialists. They're not right now. We'll see what Jameson Williams becomes, but they're not, Devontae Smith, who can do everything. They're not Jalen Waddle. He had John Mechie, and Tua had 4 just absurd wide receivers. He has John Mechie, who is who's more of a slot guy. Reception. He's 90 catches this year. He's get the first down. He's not going to beat you deep. And then you have Jameson Williams, who's averaging 20 yards a catch, and he's up for the Blitnikoff. And he missed the second half of last week's game against Auburn because he got kicked out for targeting, which, again, why is he on punt? Whatever. Georgia, meanwhile, you have Stetson Bennett, who's going to start. Everything I've seen, he started every game this year. Wild that everyone thought JT Daniels, and the season's totally flipped. And Stetson Bennett, to his credit, has been perfectly fine. He's been pretty good. He's completing 65% of his passes, 10.8 yards an attempt, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 188.5 QB rating. He's been really, really solid for Georgia this year. And with that defense, that's all you need is to be solid. Don't turn the ball over. Don't make goofy throws. Complete some third downs, and you're going to win a lot of games. For the receiving, they like to spread the ball around. Brock Bowers, Burton, Mitchell, they've all caught somewhere between 24 and 40 passes. Brock Bowers leads the way with 37. That kid is going to be absurd since he's only a freshman. And then, of course, George Pickens comes back for Georgia this week. What kind of impact will he make? That's a question that we'll see. I mean, we saw it last year in the national championship game. Jalen Waddle came back, and he was kind of a decoy. He really never got thrown to. It was just something for Ohio State to think about. We'll see if he's that or if he's fully ready to play. I would think he's fully ready to play, but, I mean, he hasn't played since Georgia beat Cincinnati last year. What's he going to look like this week? So we'll see what George Pickens brings to the table, but that could be a really valuable X factor for the Bulldogs. To beat Alabama, you must have an elite quarterback. I mean, is Zach Calzada an elite quarterback? I know that's probably one of those just weird, fluky performances that happens, but This Alabama offense is pretty good. Now it does have a weakness, unfortunately, and that's the right side of its defensive line. Someone commented it earlier. Bryce Young's taken 33 sacks, and Alabama has a top 5 pick, top 10 pick at left tackle. The right side of their line has just been getting caved in all year, and I know they've had injuries and they've had to play a guard at center, or people are out of position. They've just kind of recalibrated things, so it's been tough, but that offensive line has been getting caved in, and that's why part of the reason Brian Robinson he isn't Najee Harris. He's not any of these guys, but he's still a really good back. You don't get to Alabama by being some, slow, whatever. So it's interesting. And the offensive line it hasn't been a dominant, scary Alabama offensive line.